look, you guys are students, right? So from a student perspective, you know, you're doing what you're told, and if you do what you're told, and you do it to the best of your abilities, then you should have all the opportunities out there for you, right? But now what has happened, right? What has happened is unemployment rates skyrocketed. Businesses have no revenue. Everyone is quarantined from home. And obviously this is a temporary time, but at the same time, you know, I could imagine how challenging it is, right? Like if you're getting straight A's, if you're doing good work, all this stuff, if you have an internship, if you have a job, and now they're like, nope.
Yeah.
Right? Out of no fault of your own, right?
Yeah. Well, my internship got canceled. And then now it feels like if I reach out to a company, it kind of feels insensitive to, because they're dealing with furloughs and layoffs. They're not going to even want to like speak to someone who's looking for an internship. And it feels weird. I feel like I shouldn't be asking for a job when people are struggling with finding jobs themselves, or people are struggling with their own businesses, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Julia's saying. I think I've reached out to a lot of companies just recruiting, trying to get an internship for the summer. But the reality of the situation is that there's so many other people who are looking for jobs who need that to support their families. So you do kind of feel insensitive in a way. But you also have to worry about for your future. I think my parents and I have talked about this a lot. Kind of how the job market is going to look after this. Are internships going to be required for job positions? Or are you going to have an internship? Are you going to have an internship before you go into a job?
Right.
Is that going to be a requirement? I just think the whole job market and how to get into it is going to shift because of this.
Look, I love that perspective. That is exactly why I'm doing this. What I'm going to go through in the next 20, 30 minutes is what to actually do right now. And do it that you're putting yourself out there in the right way. No one is offended. It's actually the opposite. And what you can actually be doing. And the theme is connections, right? Because never, ever have human beings been so digitally connected. So if you think about it, never before have people been so digitally connected. And also never before have all those people who are all digitally connected now have time. So the three things that I'm going to talk about, that's the overarching issue. For Windowsware, what we do every year is we do our annual student awards. And so I encourage you guys, as well as all the other IU students, to post all the projects that you've done being IU students onto your Windowsware profile. And it's as simple as uploading the content on our site. You create a Windowsware account, you've got a Windowsware account. At the top right, there's an upload project. Is we take the best projects that have been submitted by the students. If you've done student projects, right? You've done student projects, is that right? Right? You've done projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to those projects? You give them to your professor, and then they give you a grade. And then where do they end up?
Well,
yeah, exactly, right? Nowhere. At the same time, right? We've got tens of thousands of users of Windowsware that are brands that are looking for resources. They're looking, okay, who's out there? What students are out there? Now, from our perspective, it's all about everything that I'm describing is going to be connecting with people through content, right? Like I'm digital content, you're digital content, and we're connecting through this digital content. And ultimately, showcasing the projects that you've done, that essentially is the best way that you can communicate to brands as far as who you actually are, what your thoughts are, what your ideas are, and how you present yourself, right?
Mhm.
So ultimately, if these are things that you've already done, right? So, and for all the fashion, like design majors, like there's a whole fashion show, right? Like every year you guys do a fashion show. If you have those designs, those fashions, you can upload them to your Windows Word profiles as well. Like it's all content, and it's all done in a way to engage people in the industry to actually show the things that you're actually doing, and you're giving them ideas, right? Like if you're presenting to them these projects, it's actually great content for them to look through. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So every year we do an annual student awards. So the deadline is Monday, May 4th. So it's in 10 days from now. And all you have to do is upload the projects that you've already done all throughout the year. And we already have a few hundred projects that have already been uploaded by students all across the country. And we take the best projects and we put them into different categories. And it's just windowsware.com/student awards. And then we share that with the industry. And then they can then vote for their best student projects. And then we tag all the students, right? So we're giving everyone credit for who uploaded it. So it's a great way of taking the things that you've actually done, right? We're not asking you to do any more work. It's just a matter of giving us the project so then we can use that to engage with the industry. And we actually love when the project is from a certain brand. So let's say you've done a project on, or like Nike, right? Like I'm just throwing a name out there. Wouldn't you want the Nike team to know about that project? You know, we essentially share that with the team at Nike, and isn't that awesome, right? For them to receive an email saying, hey, look at these students that have done this project about your brand from Indiana, right? So if you've done projects with brands and you have not uploaded that onto your WindowsWare account and you've not shared that with the brand themselves, to me, that's a missed opportunity, right? Because what we're doing right now is we're going to use our time to connect and engage with other people. Because ultimately, that's your biggest competitive advantage right now as students, that you have the ability right now to engage with people, and it's actually not offensive because you are students. And actually the students that are doing it in the right way, they're going to be the ones who are going to make the right connections, because you don't necessarily know where the opportunities are going to come from, right? And that's the goal. The goal is to increase your network right now so that, you know, you have that for the rest of your lives, right? Because doing that, you know, making connections with people is always going to be valuable. And the more and more that you make, the more and more opportunities that you'll have.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Mhm.
Using this resource, I feel like in the apparel merchandising program, we do a lot of projects. A lot of the classes are project based. And you kind of think about it that it's just a learning opportunity, but this kind of takes it another step forward into allowing yourself to connect with these brands and connect with other people and kind of get your ideas out there, which I think, as you said, it's going to kind of put you ahead of other people.
Absolutely, yeah. So number one, you know, and there's only a week or so left to do this before we're going to be, because what we're going to do is every year we take all the best projects and we blast it out to our entire network. So we want to make sure that we have as much content from IU students as possible. All right, so this is our windowsware.com. So you just sign in with your Indiana University email address, and here's our student awards. So these are the different categories. If you have a window project, interior project, pop-up project, technology project, sustainability project, heritage. So this could mean anything from the brand if it's maybe looking back at their history. If it's a fashion presentation project, this could be for all the, you know, this is essentially like the fashion show, right? If you can't have a physical fashion show, no problem. Just upload the actual images of every piece, and we'll do an online, fashion competition from students, and then also trend forecasting. If there's another project, I would encourage you to upload as many projects as possible, because obviously, we'll look through them and we could, put them in the right category. If one thing doesn't necessarily fit in the perfect way, we'll try to make it fit in the sense that we want as much, we want to include as much as possible that makes sense. Because here's the alternative. The alternative is we ask for your resume. Now, in Windowsware, we already have 100 schools that use Windowsware around the country. So what are we going to do? We're going to ask thousands of students to upload their resumes. And then we're going to send out a blast email, look through 1,000 resumes. Like, after the first couple resumes, it's going to be like monotonous.
They all sound the same.
All the same. It's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, look at all these awesome student projects that the students did for their school, and it's not any additional work on your end. It's just about uploading it, right? You could just upload them here, purple upload project button, and then you can upload as many. And if you have other students that you worked with, you just add them here. They just have to have a Windowsware account as well. And then you upload the images, you upload information, and then boom, it's there. And then this is a great tool for people in the industry to discover. And then the more content, the more projects, the better, right? Obviously, if you guys know who's doing good projects and not, right? All we know is who's uploaded them, right? So if the crappiest people are uploading the projects, they're going to have all the benefit of it because they're uploading it, right? If you're not in the digital, if you're not converting what you're doing into digital, it's as if it didn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're not giving it to us, if you're not allowing us, and then here's like the winners from last year, and these are like a bunch of the different winners, and then this is who votes. So everything in the yellow are countries that voted. So you can see all the people from all around the world that voted. So this is a fun thing that we do every year. And because we're coming up to the end of the school year, we do this once a year. Any questions on this? And then I'm going to move to the second point.
I don't think so. I think you covered it all.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. LinkedIn. You can still see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything digital is like everything physical, right? So you wouldn't walk into an interview wearing a t-shirt and shorts, right? You would walk into an interview looking nice, having yourself put together nicely, and being very succinct in the way that you talk, have your talking points, and be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the online, right, it's equally as important. From my perspective, it's even more important because the online is there 24/7, right? Maybe for the interview, yes, at that moment, you did invest in making sure that you're put together, making sure that you're, okay, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. But on online, it has to be done 24/7, right? But the good thing about online is once you do it, it like works for you, right? It's not like you have to constantly remind yourself to, okay, I need to look good today, right? That's every day you have to do a lot of work. Online, it's like, oh, you just do it. You just kind of have to maintain it, but or as long as you've invested the time and the work, it looks good. Then you guys have LinkedIn profiles?
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, show me one. Can I look one of you guys up?
Sure.
Who am I going to look at?
Uh,
Allie or Julia? Julia?
Sure.
Julia.
Either one.
Yeah, Julia. This one?
Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Okay. This is good.
Thanks.
I think it can certainly be better. So you've got a nice photo. You know, your windows were intern. I would probably create a different title for you.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't call yourself an intern. I would call yourself, you know, something that you're actually doing. You know, just describe, you know, are you a marketing assistant? Are you a content curator, right? Like no one is, every word here is, think about Google search, right?
Mm-hmm.
People aren't, the beauty about LinkedIn is people are finding you, right? If
Mm-hmm.
historically, if you wanted a job, someone would create a job postings, and then you would look at, okay, here's the qualifications, here's the responsibilities, and then you would apply for that job, right?
Mm-hmm.
In today's day and age, there's no need to create the whole job postings, right? If you're looking for someone, right? Think about if you want to shop for something online. You're just looking for what you want to buy,
Right.
right? And maybe you have an idea of what you're looking for, so
Mhm.
you're searching that. You're putting in the keywords to discover that. So your title is not, no one's going to hire an intern. Does that?
Right. No, I see what that means.
That's like your, yeah, what they want, your skill set, right? So that's what I would highlight. What is your skill set?
Okay.
I would take the about away.
Really?
Yes. So
Okay.
no, you're giving people work, right? It's like a menu. You're at a
Mhm.
restaurant. If there's a lot of words, paragraphs, think about going to a restaurant, right? Like
Right.
if it's too big, if the menu's too big, you're giving the person way too much work.
Right.
All this is, someone should look at this and say, holy shit, this person is amazing. And I just need to contact her to make sure that she's a real human being.
Right.
That's the goal of the resume. It
Gotcha.
should just be like an explosion, like a nuclear bomb. If it
Mhm.
doesn't appear like a nuclear bomb, like an explosion, like, wow, this is so amazing,
Hmm.
you can improve it. If it's too wordy, if it's too much paragraph form, it's too much work for people to go through, and they're not going to go through it. Now, everything that you're saying in the about is already here,
Okay.
right? Okay, let's say that I say to you, I'm very athletic.
Hmm.
I'm the best athlete ever. I'm the coolest and the most awesome athlete. If you don't know me
Hmm.
and you don't know a person, you're going to instantly not believe what they say.
Right.
As human beings, when it comes to something that we don't know, someone that we don't know,
Hmm.
our initial instinct is, I'm trying to discover if this person is being authentic and if they're being truthful. Subconsciously, as human beings, that's what we all do. So in looking at someone's resume, it should just be very factual. Instead of saying, like, I'll give you an example. If I just say that I'm an amazing athlete,
Hmm.
you'll probably not believe me, right? What I should say is, every morning I run 20 miles and I do it within 3 hours. And I've been doing this now for 8 straight years. I'm being very factual.
Hmm.
I'm actually describing who I am. And by being very specific, very factual, very concise,
Hmm.
it paints a picture of who I am. And that's what the resume has to do. Now,
Hmm.
if you're describing yourself, you're not actually saying who you are and what you've done, what accomplishments that you've made. And,
Hmm.
and when someone who doesn't know you sees that, it's going to turn them off. And anyone can say that they're a great athlete, right? Because anyone can say that, right?
Hmm.
But then specifically, what does that actually mean, right? Because and that specific thing is actually the way that you differentiate yourself from everyone else, because not everyone can say that. So here, in addition to being a full-time student, I've taken a part-time job as a sales associate in the Urban Outfitters in Bloomington, Indiana. Well, you're already saying sales associate, Urban Outfitters, Bloomington, Indiana.
Right.
You've said nothing new
About what you've done.
You're actually giving me more work, right?
Mhm.
You're duplicating and you're wasting all this space here.
Okay.
To duplicate, right? In addition to maintaining the source standards, and I appreciate that I'm going through your resume, and this is unexpected, right? I didn't even actually look at your resume. I'm doing this live with you, but I am being and I'm cognizant of my time. I don't want to take up too much time here. I just know that as students, I wouldn't know what to do, you know, and what to look for, because I had to figure it out over time. But now I know exactly how it all works, and I know how to, you know, guide and help, because I can see it from the other side. I can see both sides. But here, in addition to maintaining the store standards, helping customers with any products, I have also learned valuable lessons. It doesn't matter what you've learned.
Right.
It's what have you accomplished for Urban Outfitters, right?
Right.
So if you've been there for 1 year and 9 months and you're a sales associate, here's the number one thing I would lead with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're responsible for selling merchandise at Urban Outfitters and you've been there for 1 year and 9 months, I would say, what's the daily sales what do you think the average daily sales is that you would generate at Urban Outfitters?
Well, it was a much smaller scale store, so it was about 3,000, 5,000, and then some days it can be 10,000.
And then what was your contribution, you think, for that?
They didn't really measure it that way because we didn't work
What's your
off
estimate?
commission. I don't know, honestly.
How many people were sales?
Sorry?
How many people were sales? How many salespeople were there?
Like 2 or 3.
2. Okay, so let's say 2 let's say 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you said between $3,000 to $10,000 in sales a day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to average $10,000 and $3,000, okay? So it's 13 divided by 2 is $6,500, okay? And I'm going to divide that by 2.5. So that I'm saying your average daily sales is $2,600, $2,600, okay? How many days a week did you work there?
1 day a week.
1 day a week. And then you worked there for, let's say, what, like 70 weeks, 80 weeks? Okay, so 2,600 times 80. You know, you single-handedly generated $250,000 in sales. Right? For working 1 day a week, where the average sales was between 3.5. Ultimately, that's your biggest I'm just trying to think of what is your single-handedly largest contribution. You know, Urban Outfitters, major organization, I get it. But what did you do in the biggest possible way that made the biggest impact to Urban Outfitters as a company? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, what did you do that made the biggest impact? Right? That's ultimately what you should highlight. Now, if people have more questions, how'd you get there? What'd you do? Like, that's all follow-up. But you're talking about highlighting on a resume. You should highlight the number one top things that you did that affected the organization in the biggest possible way. You're CEO of a company, right? You know, what's the biggest thing that you did that impacted the company in the biggest possible way, right? So it doesn't matter what your role is. Even if you're absolute bottom of the totem pole, right? You still you have to understand what you've actually done and present it in a way that lets someone else understand, oh, okay, this is what this individual did, because you're putting it on a resume. Now, obviously, I can go into more detail but that's, that's the approach.
Mm-hmm.
And not about you, it's about them, right? So it's not that you learned valuable lessons, it's that you made the organization more effective or more efficient. Your whole resume should be those bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just describe to you the opposite of this. What if you're a janitor at a high school? Right? You're a janitor at a high school, and someone might look at the janitor at the high school and be like, what could you put on a resume, right? You're just a janitor at a high school, right? If I put janitor and high school on a resume, you might think like that's the worst possible resume, right? Because it's like you're a janitor at a high school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But what is a janitor at a high school? Someone who maintains the health code standards, right? The cleanliness standards, the sanitation standards, and ensuring the well-being of every single human being, 1,000+ human beings that are at this high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it that way, even the person at the bottom of the totem pole, as long as he or she presents themselves in the right way, really completely transforms the way that you think about a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the way that we communicate who we are and what we do, it's very powerful, right? So, someone could look at the janitor and be like, oh, you're just a janitor, right? But if the janitor is like, nope, I actually maintain the standards and the health and making sure that, there's 1,000 people that are at this school, every single one is, and, if you look at the track record of how I clean, there's been no one sick, and, I check all these things every single day, and I'm maintaining all these things, all these kids are coming in, they're super dirty, and, I'm doing all this great work. You're like, wow, that person is, that organization can't exist without that person,
Mm-hmm.
and even though it might seem as like the lowest of the totem pole, it's actually, the most important,
Right.
and the most irreplaceable, and you could also understand that person also understands how important their role is, and no
Right.
role is not important, right? So
Right.
that's the attitude, and it's very factual, and it's just about presenting yourself in the right way. And I'm telling you, when you put that on a resume in 3 or 4 or 5 bullets of things like that, it pops.
So for like LinkedIn, do you recommend doing more of a bullet point format than a paragraph, just
Your
so it's easier to go
LinkedIn
through?
is copy paste your resume. So
Okay.
whatever your resume
Really?
is your LinkedIn copy paste.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
There's a huge job market that exists. You don't know how many people have already looked at your LinkedIn that might have not contacted you because it wasn't in the right way, right? People are constantly looking for people, just like people are constantly shopping for things online. If your product's not online without the right keywords, you're gonna miss that e-commerce consumer. And the same thing with LinkedIn, right? If you're not properly tagged, if you don't have the right keywords, if you're not packaged as a product properly, you're gonna miss those opportunities. This is the biggest thing I always see with, and this is not just students, it's everyone. Here's the second thing, messaging.
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time, people see your name, the subject, and a short little bit of the message. Now, what I see from students is they like I'm doing, I like to talk about stuff. And in an email, they're talking about all about themselves, like blah, blah, blah. Like there's a lot of content there, right? Think about a video on social media. It has to be quick, it has to be snappy, it has to instantaneously be engaging. Now, I'm all about messaging people, all about being aggressive in that. It's just when I see it being done, it's being done in the wrong way. So here's what I would suggest you guys do, everyone does. After your LinkedIn is in order, you connect with people, right? And you search for people that are at brands, at companies that you want to work at, and titles that you want to work at. Right? So tell me one company and one place that you'd want to work.
Me?
Yeah.
I would say Urban Outfitters.
Okay. And then what kind of role?
Probably buying, product development.
You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What city?
Well, it's based in Philadelphia, but they also have offices in New York. So
Where would you want to
probably,
be?
probably Philadelphia. I think it'd be cheaper.
Okay, I see it. I see buyer. I see assistant buyer. What's a fancier title for a buyer?
Senior buyer.
Senior buyer. Okay. See how all these keywords are all important? Senior buyer. Okay, wait, this one's in New York. Oh, Philly. Becky Wilson.
Yep.
You know Becky Wilson?
I don't.
Do you know Becky Wilson?
I do not.
I don't know Becky Wilson. Right? None of us know Becky Wilson. Right? You can connect with her. You can message her. I am the biggest advocate for going direct. Right? If let's say I'm connected to Becky. A lot of times people are like, oh, I see you're connected to this person. Can you introduce me? No. You go direct, right? If you're a great product and you got the consumer, you go direct. The internet allows us to go direct. Why middlemen? Why do we have to rely on middlemen to control our fate, right? You see someone, I don't know Becky, you don't know Becky, but clearly senior buyer, Urban Outfitters, Philly. You know, I aspire to be in that position one day, right? Okay. Once your resume is in order, you connect. You send them a message, right? You can do those things, right? Let's say you don't know, right? Let's say in addition to connecting them, you could also send them an email, right? We all know everyone's email is first name dot last name at company.com, right? Or it's first initial last name at company.com, right? You know it's becky.wilson at urbanoutfitters.com. You know it's b.wilson. You know it's bwilson at urbanoutfitters.com, right? Now this is all about breaking the noise. See this Mohan? You guys are going to come at them from left field, right? They don't know who you are, right? You're targeting them, but they're like, who is this, right? So they're going to instantly think spam. You know, what does this person want from me? What's going on here, right? That's your initial, who is this? You know, I'm not familiar with this content, similar to what I said before. You're not familiar with something, they're going to be like, is this authentic? Are they being truthful? Is this real? What do they want from me? Most people assume when you contact someone, you want something from them, right? But we're gonna flip the script. Mohan, my initial reaction is, I don't know who you are. You probably want something from me. I only have the name and I only have a few words. Here's what I would say. I would go straight to Becky. I would send Becky a message. I could also send Becky an email. And my first words would be, Becky, you are awesome. 99% chance Becky is going to see those words, right? If I start to say, hi, I am a student, blah, 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 right? It's never going to get to what your goal is here, right? Your goal here is to make a connection. Clearly you think that she's awesome, right? Why? That's not being factual, right? It's actually being real. Because what you see makes you think that she's awesome. Now, I would be very concise. Becky, you're awesome. I aspire to be like someone like you. Becky, you're awesome. I aspire to be someone like you. I'd love 5 minutes of your time to do an online webinar and learn more about you. I want to be, I'm a student at IU. I want to be someone like you. Who is telling Becky she's awesome in her whole day?
Most likely just you.
No one. No one. You're giving Becky therapy. Right? You're giving Becky therapy. You're acknowledging her. You're being very supportive of her. She doesn't know who you are, right? But clearly you've done some research, right? You guys are students, right? Lots of tricks up your sleeves. You could tell Becky, I've got a project. I've got to research the most inspiring people that I see professionally, and I'm creating this presentation, this report. You're one of these people. Can I talk to you? It's a report you've created for yourself, right? You're a student. Ah, this makes sense. Now what's going to happen? This is all about converting. You're converting people from the email world. You're converting people from the LinkedIn world. Now we're converting them into this webinar world. Even better, you would convert them into a coffee at their office or a phone call, right? But with what we've got going on right now, you guys are at IU, this is the best thing you can get them to do. A live, online, interactive webinar, right? Zoom is free, right? You create an account, like there's a million of these technologies out there. And then you get them on the phone, you get them on this live webinar, they can see you, can see them. And you ask them open-ended questions. Open-ended because it allows them to talk, right? I see your resume, I see you've been at all these great places, tell me about that. Right? You say, tell me about that. Could be anything that comes out of their mouth, right? If you ask people a very specific question, John, are you wearing a navy blazer? Yes. You know, there's more specific of a question, right? So this is the opposite, right? The resume, very specific. Conversation, the opposite. The question is very broad, open-ended. Because you don't want to limit the conversation. Right? You want to get them talking. This is a connection that you're making with this human being. Right? They're talking, they're sharing, you know, their story, they're connecting with you, they're excited by it, right? Because you're giving them therapy. Then what happens? It's very natural for a human being after they're done talking about something to ask you, oh, you asked me about my background? What is your background? Right? And that's when you've converted this into an interview, right? And there is nothing wrong with telling Becky, Becky, I would love to be, to have a background like yours, to be doing what you're doing. Now then that plants a seed in Becky's mind. Oh, well, if this person wants to be where I'm at, what's the easiest thing that I can do? Hire this person, right? Be part of my team, right? If you're telling me you want to be where I'm at, I'm in Philly, I'm in senior buyer role, I'm at Urban Outfitters, and you're telling me I want to be there, The easiest thing I could do is put you down here on my team, so then you'll be there, right? You're not going to tell an Urban Outfitters person in Philly, your dream is to be in Dubai, working at a hotel, right? She's gonna be like, okay, well, that's great, but I can't help you, right? You're not gonna go to a McDonald's and say, hey, I want a pizza. It's the wrong content for the wrong place, right? But if you're being very direct, you're not shy, you're planting that seed there. So what I'm describing, if you contact 50 people like this, you'll at least have 5 or 10 conversations like this. And then when we talk about jobs, internships, opportunities, I mean, no one is doing what I'm describing. And this is something that can be done right now. There's no delay, there's no need to wait, and you can continuously do this, right? And this is a lifelong skill. This is not just something that you're doing right now. Okay, let me tell you the third thing. Third thing is kind of an out of the box thing. I mean, I would be doing this if I were in your shoes. Crunchbase, are you guys familiar with Crunchbase?
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Ultimately, when we're talking about a job, we're talking about money, right? Neiman Marcus, right? You guys heard the news, like might be going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Right? Big company, been around for, over a century, employs lots and lots of people. And unfortunately, they might go bankrupt, right? What is bankruptcy? Bankruptcy means it's not that they're not making money, right? It's not that they're not generating revenue. It's just that they've got too many liabilities and they don't have enough investment coming in, right? There's no new money. If the US government gave Neiman Marcus $1 trillion, right, they wouldn't have to declare bankruptcy because now they have $1 trillion in their bank account, right? So it doesn't matter if your company is going very good or very bad, as long as you can have investors that give you money, then you'll be fine, right? Because it doesn't really matter what is happening to your business, as long as you can motivate, you can incentivize investors to give you fresh money. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the biggest companies in the world, they have the most ability to raise money, right? Yep. Everyone knows Neiman Marcus, right? My company, Windowsware, I would have to spend a lot more time, a lot more money just trying to get our name out there to then get investors to come in. But like everyone knows Neiman Marcus, right? If you want to invest in them, you know who they are. It's not like a mystery. So having fresh money for a business is the most important asset, right? That's literally why everything that is going on with the government right now, if you see the way that they're responding to this crisis, they're literally saying, we're going to give Americans cash, right, just to pay their bills, and we're going to give companies cash. So that just shows you that having fresh money, and when I mean fresh, I mean like very recent, not like new, like not like having money like maybe years ago, but like immediate, like in the very near term. Those are ultimately the most healthy companies, if that makes sense, because they literally just got an infusion of cash.
Yeah.
You're a student, right? What if your parents or a rich uncle just, inserted $10,000 into your bank account, right? You'd be like, oh, this is great, right? I've got this fresh money, right?
Yeah.
What happens when you have fresh money?
You spend it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Now, what if you're Neiman Marcus and you get fresh money? What do you do with that money? From your perspective, right? You're a student, you're looking for a job. Do you think hiring new people is the first thing they're going to do with that?
Probably
Well,
not.
pay off their debts if they have any.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? When you're a big company, lots of baggage, right?
Yeah.
Lots of employees, lots of locations, lots of debt, lots of things. And that's part of the reason why investors don't really like to give money to big companies.
Yeah.
Because they know they're not going to really make a big impact, right? And if you're kind of so big, you're kind of like a dinosaur. So, it's, am I going to really help? Even if I give you all this money, is it really going to change anything because you're already kind of old and structured in this way and you've been doing it in this way for a very long time? Maybe not much I could do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's Crunchbase? Crunchbase is a website. All they do, all day, every day, is provide information about brand new investment to the newest, most innovative companies. This is like the opposite of the Neiman Marcus's out there, right? These are companies you've never heard of, but they're getting infused with money like right now. So the website is organized like news, like you can like search news articles. It's also, you can search by funding rounds. So you could actually see, like it actually just lists out. Look, what day is it today? April 24th?
Mhm.
You see my screen, April 24th. This company, Digits, just got $22 million. This company, Bestow, just got $50 million. This is all today. This company, Igloo, just got $8 million. Now, Crunchbase is all the different types of companies, right? It's healthcare companies, it's insurance companies, it's retail companies, they're not trying to pick a particular industry, they're just trying to be broad. Now, from your perspective, right, students, I would 100% look at Crunchbase, right? I would look at all these companies. I would explore every single one and be like, is this a cool company, right? Obviously, a lot of these companies are retail companies, e-commerce companies, digital companies, marketing companies, right? They don't necessarily have to be one particular thing. They could be. But this is like out of the box. This is definitely somewhere where I would spend some time and see what are companies that you might be interested in. Because the good thing about Crunchbase is they just got, literally today, $22 million, $50 million, $8.5 million. So now, because these are more growth stage and startup companies, you know what they do with money? These companies, what they do with money is they quickly expand their teams. That is literally like, I can guarantee every single one of them, the most proceeds will be used to increasing the size of their organization. Right, so the exciting thing about the companies on Crunchbase is none of them are on your radar, but look, raising money is a hard thing, right? Especially in today's day and age, right? Like just being able to generate funds, for investors to put $22 million on something, $50 million on something, like you're doing something good to have that happen. They don't have to do that stuff. Clearly people are believing in these companies. So they're clearly making money, or they're clearly doing something very promising to get them into that spot. Now, from your guys' perspective, right? Like, let's see that and you can do research on every single one of them. You can search them. You can create a free trial. Even the paid account is like $15 a month. It's nothing crazy. Maybe even IU subscribes to Crunchbase potentially. And I would look through these companies, right? And with this, I would do the same exact thing that I would do with LinkedIn, but I would do it with their CEO. So if I was interested in this company, Digits, I would figure out who the CEO is on their website or through LinkedIn. And I would either connect with them on LinkedIn or send them an email, and I would say the same thing. You're awesome. Congrats on the funding round. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. Here's who I am, and I'd love to learn more. Now, the goal is these people are looking to hire, right? So you're actually doing them a favor by messaging them and being interested in them, because think about it. They have all this new money. They're going to be looking to hire people. So you're actually like giving yourself as a product before they're even looking for you here. You could look every single day. There's tons of companies every single day. And yeah, think about that, right? If you connect with the right person at the organization and you're available, they literally have the money to hire you. And you'd be coming in to a growth stage company, which might be exciting because, it's you can kind of create your own position, and there's only, upside, from their perspective as far as how they can see things going. Any questions on this?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So look, like I said, do you guys have any other questions? Like I said, I think, this is a challenging time, but ultimately, everyone is digitally connected. Everyone is accessible. It's just about making sure that your digital profile is the best it can be. Obviously, the projects that you've done on Windowsware, I think, is important. Having the right LinkedIn profile is important. And then just being proactive and being strategic as far as who you message, and then being very short and concise, and just have an action word, action item, the first thing that you say that really gets them excited about what you have to say. And then it's just about converting that message or that email to a conversation like this, and then getting to know more about them, because what would that lead? The more that they're talking about themselves, the more it will lead to you talking about yourself. And then the more they understand who you are and that you're interested in what they've got going on, the more it plants a seed into their brain saying, oh, well, I get it. This person wants to work here, and here's what I can do to help you. And if you did that, once a day, once a week, a few times a week like that, with this whole coronavirus thing, we're coming out of it, or you're coming out of school and you're focused on just doing that, you can have many opportunities. It just takes a little work and a little, being a little bit strategic, obviously putting yourself out there in the right way. But, I think this is exciting stuff. I do think that wouldn't necessarily expect to get an internship or a job just given where the unemployment rate is right now. But, instead of that, I would just focus on making these connections with these people. And obviously, if you're talking to these companies here, they literally have the funding. So they're looking to hire people. So,
Yeah. I think this helped me a lot understand how to strategically use online resources, especially during this time. Everyone, as you said, is so digitally connected, and kind of using that as an advantage instead of a disadvantage, I think, is a good perspective to look at it as.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think it's also great to get it out there that this is the time to really develop yourselves professionally, and this isn't the time to be to just watch every single Netflix show. It's the time to connect on LinkedIn and do all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And gain new skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of you mentioned this very early on about is it kind of not rude, but is it not my place to connect with people if maybe they're impacted? And if you do it in this way, you could see it's actually in everyone's best interests, right?
Yeah.
To connect in this way. And that's actually the right way to connect with people, right? If it's not about I gain something from you, it's just that we both gain, right? We're both gaining, everyone's winning. And And then you're just being very upfront, about, and it's about painting the right picture about who you are and all that, and not being aggressive, but not looking desperate, and that's, and if you do that in the right way, you actually look you look amazing to the someone looking at that will be like, I want that person on my team, because that's the type of person that they're looking for. So it's actually actively presenting yourself in the right way that gets you snatched up. And you're going direct, right? You're going direct, and you're using this time. Being a student is this is the time to do this, because the fact that you're a student, everything is like a learning opportunity, right? So it's like people get that, right? So you could just connect with anyone because you want to learn. Who doesn't want to talk to a student looking to learn? It's an amazing place to be. So I would try to just maximize that opportunity, and not necessarily once you have the job and all that, then yes, then you can do the downtime with Netflix and all the other stuff. But this is also digital content, what we're talking about, which is kind of like Netflix. It's just doing it in a more interactive way that actually enhances your opportunities. Well, thanks for being a part of this. I hope this was informative. I highlighted Windowsware, I highlighted LinkedIn, I highlighted Crunchbase, but I didn't have those things, and no one had those things historically. So if you're provided with those things right now, I know that you're not provided with other stuff, but the old days of having a job posting and everything laid out, I think is really a past thing. If it's still going on, but it's generation after generation, year after year, it's going to continue to be less relevant because people are just going to go direct, just like e-commerce. And ultimately learning how to navigate that and do that is going to help you for your whole career.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Have a great weekend, and I'll
You
talk with you
too.
guys soon.
See ya.
Okay, bye.